Marcus stared at Patricia's perfectly highlighted bob as she continued riffling through her leather portfolio. "I've taken the liberty of preparing a timeline for duck removal," she said, pulling out a color-coded calendar. "You'll notice I've generously provided 3 extra days beyond requirements for emotional detachment purposes." "These ducks aren't going anywhere," Marcus replied, crossing his arms. "This exemption was voted on by a properly elected board. You can't just erase decisions you don't like." Patricia's smile tightened. "Actually, I can." Section 17, Paragraph 4 of the updated bylaws states that the sitting president may review and overturn decisions deemed detrimental to community character and property valuation. I authored that section myself. Marcus felt his blood pressure rising, but remembered what his therapist had said about controlling his reactions. After Elaine's death, his temper had become unpredictable. The ducks had been part of his healing process, their simple, consistent needs giving structure to his days when grief threatened to swallow him whole. "I'll be contesting this at the next board meeting," he said finally. Patricia checked her Apple Watch. "Do what you must. The next meeting isn't for 6 weeks, which means you'll have accumulated." She tapped on her phone calculator with a French manicured nail. "Approximately $8,400 in fines by then. We do accept payment plans." As she turned to leave, her gaze fell on Daffodil, the white Pekin duck who had wandered close to the fence, curious about the visitor. "One of them appears to be watching me. Is that sanitary?" "That's Daffodil. She's actually the cleanest one of the bunch. She spends half her day preening." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "You've named them. That's unfortunate. It'll make compliance more difficult psychologically." She made a note in her portfolio. "Consider this your official notification. Good day, Mr. Henderson." After she left, Marcus sank onto his porch swing, the exemption papers crumpled in his hand. Waddles waddled over, settling against his shoe with a contented quack. The duck's warm weight against his foot was immediately calming. His therapist had called them emotional support animals without the certification. Inside, Marcus called Jack Nichols, his retired neighbor and the former HOA treasurer. "Jack, we've got a situation. The new HOA president is targeting my ducks." "Patricia Sullivan," Jack said, "not a question. She's already cited Greta Thompson for having wind chimes that exceed the decibel limit. She measured them with an app on her phone. Can she really overturn my exemption?" Jack sighed. "She forced through some bylaw changes at a special meeting last month. Only 7 homeowners attended, all friends of hers from the tennis club. I missed it because I was visiting my daughter. That can't be legal." "It's a gray area. HOAs have surprising power, Marcus. She's been planning this takeover for months. Word is she's using Oak Ridge as a stepping stone to run for city council next year." Marcus glanced out the window where his ducks were now floating peacefully on their pond. "My ducks aren't hurting anyone. The kids love them. Even Dr. Miller says they've been good for his son's anxiety." "I know. Listen, Patricia's planning to walk the neighborhood tomorrow morning to document areas of concern. Maybe introduce her to a few of your supporters before she builds too much momentum." After hanging up, Marcus sent messages to the neighbors whose children regularly visited the ducks. By evening, he had 13 responses from families pledging support and promising to attend the next HOA meeting. As dusk fell, Marcus sat by the pond completing his evening ritual of checking each duck for signs of health issues. Coconut, the largest drake, bumped his hand affectionately with his bill. "Don't worry, buddy," Marcus whispered. "I'm not letting anyone separate us." From across the street, the distinctive click of a phone camera made him look up. Patricia stood beneath a street lamp, phone raised, documenting his every move. When their eyes met, she didn't look away or pretend to be doing anything else. Instead, she raised her hand in a small, mocking wave before turning and walking back toward her house. The battle lines had been drawn. Marcus realized this wasn't just about ducks anymore. Patricia Sullivan had declared war on anything that didn't fit her vision of suburban perfection, and for some reason, she'd decided Marcus and his feathered family would be her first conquest. Little did she know, he'd spent the last 3 years fighting a much tougher opponent, grief. Compared to that, one power-hungry HOA president didn't stand a chance. The scene at the garden party had descended into glorious chaos. Patricia stood frozen in shock, her designer dress now adorned with a modern art pattern of punch splatter, while Mr. Finch's dentures created ripples in the punch bowl beside Coconut the duck. The moment stretched like taffy until Patricia's composure finally snapped. "Get those filthy bodies out of here," she shrieked, her voice hitting a pitch that made several wineglass rims vibrate. She lunged toward Waddles, who was methodically deconstructing a tiered display of petite fours, but slipped on scattered blueberries and executed an impressive split that ripped her dress along the seam. Marcus emerged from his back door, the picture of concerned innocence. "Oh my goodness, did my ducks get out? I'm so terribly sorry." Patricia's husband Gerald, a tall man whose permanent expression suggested he was mentally calculating the quickest escape route from any situation, attempted to help his wife up while avoiding the spreading puddle of punch. "Your animals," Patricia hissed through clenched teeth, "have destroyed a $5,000 event." Marcus efficiently gathered Peanut, who had discovered the canapes. $5,000? From the HOA budget. That seems rather extravagant for a community garden party. Was that approved at the last meeting? Several board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Patricia struggled to her feet, dignity in tatters. "These creatures are a health hazard. They're contaminating the food with salmonella and bullet flu and..." "Actually," interrupted Dr. Sarah Henderson, Marcus's sister, stepping forward with her official-looking binder, "as a licensed veterinarian who personally oversees these ducks' health protocols, I can assure you they're cleaner than most human children. In fact," she flipped open her binder, displaying charts and graphs. "Their last quarterly health screening shows 0 pathogens of concern. I brought the documentation since you expressed such interest in waterfowl health standards during our conversation earlier." Guests were now openly recording with their phones, many struggling to contain their laughter as Quackers waddled past, with a chocolate-covered strawberry balanced on his bill like a prize. Mr. Finch, now dentureless but clearly enjoying himself, pointed at the ice sculpture of Patricia's face. "Look at that. The nose fell right off, just like in that Egyptian statue." "Sphinx," his wife corrected, not looking up from her phone as she recorded Daffodil making herself comfortable in the gift basket. Patricia scanned the crowd, desperate for allies, but found only amused faces. Even her loyal committee members were stepping back, suddenly fascinated by the landscaping. Her gaze landed on Emma, who stood near the dessert table trying, and failing, to look disappointed as she secretly fed a cookie to Coconut. "This was deliberate," Patricia said, turning to Marcus with narrowed eyes. "You engineered this duck attack." Marcus widened his eyes. "Attack? My ducks wouldn't hurt a fly. Though they do eat quite a few mosquito larvae, which actually benefits everyone's outdoor enjoyment. It's all in the report I shared with the board last month. You know, the one you claimed never arrived." He pulled a folder from behind his back. "Luckily, I keep copies, complete with time-stamped receipts. Perhaps the other board members would like to review it while we clean up this little accident." Patricia's eye twitched as she noticed several board members reaching for the folder with interest. Just then, Gerald cleared his throat. "Patricia, perhaps we should postpone the rest of the event? The situation seems rather unsalvageable." Indeed, the party had transformed. Children had abandoned the carefully planned activities in favor of following the ducks, who were now being herded back toward their enclosure by Marcus with the assistance of several delighted kids. Parents were helping themselves to uncontaminated food while chatting and laughing, many introducing themselves to Marcus for the first time. "I've lived here 3 years," Marcus overheard Mrs. Yamamoto telling her friend, "and this is the first HOA event where people are actually having fun." Patricia stood amid the ruins of her perfect party, watching as her catering staff half-heartedly dabbed at stains while sneaking photos with the retreating ducks. Her carefully orchestrated display of power had been upstaged by 7 waddling waterfowl and their surprisingly strategic owner. "This isn't over," she whispered as Marcus passed by, efficiently collecting a trail of soggy canapes. He smiled pleasantly. You know, Patricia, my ducks have a peculiar talent. They can recognize people who've been kind to them, even months later. They never forget a face. He glanced meaningfully at her vandalized ice sculpture. Rather like elephants that way. You should come in, Marcus said to Patricia's daughter, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Are you sure you should be here? Emma stepped inside, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Unlike her mother's precision-highlighted bob, Emma's hair was dyed with purple streaks and pulled into a messy bun. Mom thinks I'm at debate team practice. I have 20 minutes. She pulled out her phone, showing Marcus a series of photos. She's been planning this for weeks. Look. The photos showed Patricia's garage workbench, covered with printouts of HOA guidelines, property maps of Oak Ridge Estates, and, most disturbingly, a detailed aerial view of Marcus's yard, with red markings. Is that? Marcus squinted at the image. A demolition plan, Emma confirmed. She's marking which parts of your duck habitat violate her interpretation of the bylaws. She's going to present it at the next meeting as proof your setup is non-compliant. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Why are you showing me this? Emma's expression hardened. Because I'm tired of it. She did the same thing at our last neighborhood. The Petersons had a butterfly garden she claimed was unregulated landscaping. The Moraleses had a basketball hoop she called a non-conforming recreational structure. By the time we moved, half the neighbors wouldn't speak to us. A quack from the kitchen interrupted them. Peanut, the smallest duck, had wandered in through the pet door. Emma's face softened immediately. That's Peanut, Marcus said. He's the curious one. To his surprise, Emma knelt down. Hi there, little guy. The duck approached without hesitation, sniffing her outstretched hand. I've watched them from my window. They have such different personalities. Your mother doesn't share your appreciation, Marcus said dryly. My mother, Emma said, gently stroking Peanut's head, has spent my entire life trying to control everything around her. Our last move was because Dad got a promotion, but the one before that was because she got voted off the board after trying to ban wind chimes. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Wind chimes. She claimed they constituted noise pollution after Mrs. Abernathy refused to let Mom use her lakeside dock for a party. Emma checked her watch. I should go. She checks the odometer on my car, so I need to actually drive to school and back to match the mileage. She stood, hesitating at the door. One more thing. Mom's planning to spray paint your gate to present it as evidence of how the neighborhood would look with approved color schemes. She's inviting board members over tomorrow night to see it displayed in our driveway. After Emma left, Marcus immediately called Jack. I need your help documenting something, he explained, describing what Emma had revealed. That's breaking and entering, Jack said. And theft. We could call the police. Marcus considered this. Not yet. If I file charges, she'll just accelerate whatever she's planning. We need to catch her in the act of something the whole board can't ignore. The next morning, Marcus awoke to find 3 official-looking notices taped to his front door. The first was a fine for decorative structures exceeding height limitations. The second cited unauthorized water features requiring county inspection. The third, most absurdly, claimed his ducks violated noise ordinances by vocalizing before 8 o'clock a.m. While he was reading these, Jack pulled into his driveway. You're going to want to see this, he said grimly, holding up his tablet. The screen showed the neighborhood Facebook group, where Patricia had posted dozens of zoomed-in photos of duck droppings on Marcus's lawn with captions like health hazard in our community and property values dropping by the day. More disturbing were the comments from neighbors who didn't know Marcus, expressing concern about filthy conditions. She's building a case, Jack said, making it seem like your place is some kind of disease-ridden swamp. Marcus's phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. Board members arriving at 7 p.m. to see the gate will try to stall. We need evidence, Marcus said, a plan forming. And I think I know exactly how to get it. Marcus stared at the drone footage on Jack's laptop, feeling a mixture of outrage and vindication. The aerial view clearly showed workers hammering stakes with orange ribbons directly onto his property, at least 3 feet beyond the actual boundary line. "She's not just using your view," Jack said, zooming in on the footage. "She's literally annexing part of your yard for her party." They were sitting in Jack's home office, surrounded by surveillance equipment from his days as head of security for a tech company. After retiring, Jack had maintained his subscriptions to various security publications and kept his skills sharp, mostly out of boredom until now. "Look at this," Jack continued, switching to a different video feed. "This is from this morning. That's your irrigation control box they're tampering with." The footage showed a landscaper in a Sullivan Garden Services polo shirt, no doubt Patricia's husband's company, carefully removing the cover of Marcus's sprinkler control system. After examining it for several minutes, he attached a small black device to the circuitry inside. "What is that?" Marcus asked, leaning closer. "Remote override," Jack said grimly. "My guess is they want to make sure your sprinklers don't come on during their precious party. But they could just as easily turn them on if they wanted to create a muddy mess for later." Classic sabotage technique. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. "This is insane. It's just a garden party." "It's not about the party," Jack's wife Elaine said, entering with a tray of coffee. "It's about control. Patricia can't stand that you've created something beautiful that doesn't conform to her vision, something the community values that she had no hand in." Jack took a mug from the tray. "Elaine's right. This party is her chance to establish dominance. New residents will see her as the neighborhood authority and your property as an extension of her domain." "We've been monitoring the community forum," Elaine added, showing Marcus her tablet. "She's been strategically responding to anyone who mentions your ducks, always with the same message: the situation is being addressed for community safety." Marcus scrolled through the comments, noting that several neighbors had specifically asked if the ducks would be at the garden party. Patricia's responses were terse redirects about more appropriate entertainment being arranged. "She's afraid the ducks will steal her spotlight," Marcus realized. "Exactly," Jack said, "and that's your leverage." A notification pinged on Marcus's phone, a message from Emma. "Update. Mom ordered protective coverings for all food tables. Plastic domes for everything because of potential airborne contaminants from neighboring properties. She's telling caterers your yard has mold spores." Marcus showed Jack and Elaine the message. "She's painting me as patient zero for some duck-borne plague." Jack leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You know what? Let's give her exactly what she's afraid of." He pulled up the property layout on his computer, overlaying it with the party setup plans Emma had photographed from Patricia's desk. "Patricia's entire plan depends on making your property appear to be under her control," Jack said. "But what if we flip the script? What if, instead of fighting her use of your property, you suddenly become an enthusiastic participant?" "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. "I mean," Jack said, eyes twinkling, "what if Duck Guy decides to be the perfect neighbor and contribute to the garden party in ways Patricia never anticipated?" Elaine caught on immediately. "Oh, that's delicious. She can hardly complain about you being helpful, can she?" Marcus still looked confused. "I'm not following." "Think about it," Jack explained. "She's already using your property without permission. What if you send her a very public, very enthusiastic email, king the entire board, expressing your delight that the party will showcase your duck habitat and offering to enhance the experience?" Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. "So when she refuses, she looks petty and ungrateful. And when she accepts, because refusing would reveal her true intentions," Elaine added, "she opens the door for whatever enhancements you choose to provide," Jack finished with a grin. Marcus pulled out his phone, already composing the email in his head. "This is perfect. But we'll need more than just an email. We need to be ready with exactly the right contributions to her perfect garden party." "That's where your sister comes in," Jack said. "How convincing can she be with those veterinary credentials of hers?" For the first time in days, Marcus felt a surge of optimism. Patricia Sullivan might have the HOA bylaws in her designer purse, but Marcus had something she would never understand: genuine community support, and a flock of ducks with impeccable timing. 6 months after the garden party incident that locals had taken to calling the Quackening, Marcus found himself hosting the neighborhood's first official Duck Appreciation Day. Children gathered around the expanded duck pond, now featuring a small wooden observation deck that Marcus had built with help from Jack and several other neighbors. Mr. Marcus, called 8-year-old Lily Thompson, whose mother had once been cited by Patricia for unauthorized wind chimes. Waddles ate my whole apple slice in one bite. He's showing off for you? Marcus laughed, watching as the duck preened proudly. The neighborhood had changed substantially in half a year. After the emergency HOA meeting where Patricia had been removed from the board, Marcus had been surprised to find himself nominated to fill a vacant position. His first proposal, establishing clear guidelines for wildlife-friendly yards, had passed unanimously. His phone buzzed with a text from Emma, just arrived at college. Duck poster hanging in dorm room as promised. How's the gang? Marcus smiled, snapping a photo of the pond scene to send back. Emma had become an unexpected pen pal, sending regular updates about her environmental law studies and requesting duck photos that she claimed helped with exam stress. As families enjoyed the afternoon gathering, Marcus noticed a moving truck parked in front of Patricia's former house. The new owners, Jenny and Michael Wong, were directing movers carrying furniture inside. Their 4-year-old twins darted around the yard, their excitement palpable even from a distance. Marcus made his way over, carrying a welcome basket that had become tradition for new residents. "You must be the famous duck man," Jenny said with a warm smile when he introduced himself. "Your viral video is literally why we chose this neighborhood. I hope you're not disappointed it's not always that exciting," Marcus replied, handing over the basket filled with local honey, a neighborhood directory, and hand-drawn duck portraits by the community children. "Are you kidding?" Michael laughed. "The realtor told us all about the Waddles protocol, best HOA protection against overreach I've ever heard of." Their conversation was interrupted by their twins racing over. Daddy, the house has a duckview," one exclaimed, pointing toward Marcus's pond. "That's Mr. Henderson's duck habitat," Michael explained. "Remember the video we watched?" The children's eyes widened. The duck house, with the party-crashing ducks. They looked at Marcus with newfound awe. "Would you like to meet them?" Marcus offered. "We're having a little neighborhood gathering right now." As they walked back toward the pond, Jenny mentioned casually, "Our realtor said the previous owner left rather suddenly. Something about the community not appreciating her leadership style." Marcus suppressed a smile. "You could say that, though I believe her official reason was her husband's job transfer." "Funny," Michael remarked. "The neighbors told us her husband still runs his landscaping business here. Apparently he just commutes now." The afternoon continued pleasantly, with the Wong twins being ceremonially introduced to each duck. Coconut, ever the gentleman, allowed them to feed him blueberries from their tiny palms, eliciting squeals of delight. As the gathering wound down, Jack pulled Marcus aside. "Got something for you," he said, handing over a small package. "Emma sent it. Asked me to give it to you when the time felt right." Inside was a beautiful hand-carved wooden sign reading "Waddle in Duck Sanctuary," and a note. "Sometimes justice takes time, but it always comes home to roost, or in this case, to float. Thank you for showing me that standing up for what matters is worth it. Emma." Marcus hung the sign on the newly rebuilt gate that afternoon, with the Wong twins holding an impromptu ribbon-cutting ceremony involving duck-shaped cookies and apple juice. That evening, as Marcus performed his nightly duck check, he noticed Waddles staring intently across the pond. Following the duck's gaze, Marcus spotted Gerald Sullivan at the edge of his property, looking wistfully at the community gathering spot Marcus's yard had become. Marcus raised a hand in greeting. After a moment's hesitation, Gerald returned the wave before quickly turning back to his truck. Some battles ended with dramatic confrontations, Marcus reflected, but sometimes the most satisfying victory was simply creating something beautiful that endured long after the conflict was forgotten. A place where ducks paddled peacefully, children laughed, and even the occasional HOA meeting could be held without a single raised voice or color-coded violation notice in sight.